Hello and welcome to Brain Potential Insights. My name is Jan Sky and I have a very special guest with me today. His name is Chuck Anderson from Living to Thrive. Let me tell you a little bit about Chuck before I officially introduce you and allow him to say hi. What he does is deliver workplace mental health and wellbeing programs and workshops to inspire and enable measurable improvements in employee resilience, performance, and engagement. Your priority is that you're committed to ensuring that all the services offered are evidence-based, which is just a wonderful thing, and resources that you use are used to flourish the employees, particularly in times of distress. Welcome, Chuck. It's so great to have you on board today. Please tell the audience about the program.
So Living to Thrive, as you mentioned, is a company that my partner and I co-founded about 7 or 8 months ago. And the trigger for the creation of the company was me being made redundant last March. And I did mental health and well-being work at a previous company, and I loved it. And it's something that I wanted to stick with. I just wasn't quite sure whether or not I wanted to work for someone else or have my own company. And of course, having your own company gives you freedoms beyond what you could ever have when you work for someone else. So eventually we just decided to create Living to Thrive. And it's essentially, as you mentioned, about going into organizations and supporting employees, giving them the resources and the tools to become more comfortable, happier, thoughtful, healthier people as best as they can. Because I know that we can't make anyone make changes for themselves in their life. It's just about us giving them the resources and saying, you can use these if you want to. And I think that that's quite helpful for a lot of people. And we've had a lot of really good feedback from clients and people that we've engaged with. And it's been really exciting to see the changes that people have made in their life, just because I'm able to go and have a conversation with them about, say, how to manage stress better. It's been a really fulfilling experience.
What you say is so true, isn't it? We can't make anybody change. They've got to want to do it themselves. But having those meaningful conversations can allow that person to see exactly where they're at, maybe what changes they need to make, and then take some ownership, I guess, of putting those changes into place.
Yeah, I think self-accountability is super important. It's also hard work. It's our minds, as you know, are not really designed to be positive all the time. We're constantly looking out for the threats. We're always on alert, essentially. So having to bring back the positives, or at least be grateful for the little things that you have, can be very challenging, especially over time. And for a number of reasons. It's just people that you surround yourself with, your general mindset, whether or not you have a mental disorder, which also makes things a bit more complicated. Like for me, I have depression and anxiety, and getting treated for that has made all the difference. But I have to continue to work to maintain a positive outlook, even when times are becoming really difficult. And I think it's important to try and do that even when times are not difficult. Being grateful for the little things, so that when the bad times come along, it's more automatic. It's not something you have to actually try to do.
I picked up 3 really valid points that you made there about when you're stressed and having negative thoughts. When we're stressed, our amygdala, which I call the CEO of all negativity, will bring up some of the worst thoughts, and then through the neural network of the brain, it links up with the right prefrontal cortex, which is reasonably creative if we are to divide the two, although they work better together. But I always say, when you combine negativity with creativity, you get catastrophe. And that's what people are like, isn't it? Because these ruminating thoughts, and they can't seem to get off that train track.
Yeah. Rumination is a dangerous thing.
And another thing you mentioned about you yourself, very bravely and openly saying that you suffer from anxiety and depression. Coming from your own self-experience, wow, that's a wonderful thing to be able to speak openly to people. It's a space of true understanding, isn't it? Even though you may not have walked in their pathway directly, it really is a space of true understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anxiety has in order to be classified as a disorder, you have to meet certain requirements in the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, version 5.
Yes.
And I think everybody has to meet those requirements. But however, everyone experiences anxiety and depression can be very, very different. I might not experience the same symptoms as you do, but we still have anxiety or depression.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to say that I don't really walk in their shoes so much, but I understand what the struggle is and what it looks like and what it feels like on a day-to-day basis. And I think having that lived experience is the biggest difference between me and another consultant who goes in to talk about mental health or well-being training. I can talk to them as a peer, not as a facilitator giving them information. It's not just theory. It's like, this is just my experience. And these are my struggles. And these are my successes. And what you want to take from that, I think, is up to you. But just remember that anything is possible. You just have to work for it. Sometimes it's harder for you than other people, but that's okay. There are a lot of things in life that are like that. And you mentioned about me being brave and speaking up about it. I think that's the conversation that we often hear around stigma. There's a stigma around having mental health and feeling judged for it. Say not mental health, excuse me, mental illness. And for me personally, I don't particularly like the word stigma and how much it's used. I feel like the more we use that word, the more people are going to be afraid to speak up. Because I've told thousands and thousands of people about my disorders and all my problems, and no one has ever once said anything negative. They tried to exploit me. That never once. And I've had more discrimination for being gay male than I have for having depression or anxiety, by far. I mean, so it's like there's a stigma around being gay, but no one would say that, or a stigma around being a female because you get the harder things in life more than a male would. So it's, for me, the word stigma, I think, should be used a bit less, if not at all, because I think it just creates more fear about speaking up. In my mind, in my experience, and it's different for other people, I've never ran into any issues with talking about mental health. And some people will, don't get me wrong, it does happen. But I just don't think that it's the level of fear that we put in people by saying stigma so much, I don't think equates to the reality of it. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I live for the day, Chuck, when mental health, those two words are accepted in the same way as physical health.
Yeah. That'd be nice. Yeah.
There was one other thing, because I said there were three things I picked up from your last conversation, and the third thing was about gratitude and being grateful for the little things. And I know in my private practice and also in workplace work that I do, I try and get people to look out for the gratitude, look out for little things that they've been grateful for in the course of any given day. So not just grateful for your home, your partner, your family, your friends, because they're givens. Grateful for the other day, I bought a case of Coke. Now, I never drink Coke. And I told my grandson who lives with me that he will never get it purchased by me because I couldn't carry it to the car. The case was too heavy. And besides, I'm not supporting his bad habits. But it was on sale and it was absolutely half price. So this young man said to me, I'll carry it to the car for you. I mean, how good was that?
Yeah, so very
Even
nice.
though I did bring that drug home for my grandson. Not grateful for that.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think to maintain the conversation that you're referring to about examples of good things that happen in the daytime that you can be grateful for. Every day at dinner time, my partner and I will ask each other, what was your highlight for the day?
Yeah.
And it's been really helpful because we can always think of something good. Having this interview with you was my highlight for the day. And I'm grateful that you were actually willing to ask me to come on your podcast to talk about my business and myself. I think it's a good opportunity for myself to do that. And I appreciate you doing that. And we also say, what was one act of kindness that you saw today? And we ask those questions every single day at dinner time. And for me, the act of kindness bit was something fairly recent, because I found myself becoming more and more cynical about people because of all the bad things that happen around us. On the news, I haven't watched the news in about 8 years, but you can't stop seeing it because it's everywhere. You go to a bar, it's there. You go to someone's house, it's there. You just see those little clips that come up, and it's never anything positive, or very, very rarely. Um, I get stuff in my email, like article clips, and I just delete them because it's just constantly negative things. And people talk about it at work or friends about the war that's just happening, which is awful. It's like, for me, I'm a very sensitive person, and I take a lot of the weight. I'm an empath, and I feel a lot of other people are feeling. So I'm quite a sensitive person, as I mentioned, and that really started to weigh me down. So the only way I could counter that is to look for the positives in people. What were some of the good things I saw today that inspired me and that reminded me that not all people are bad? And it sounds irrational and almost childish to think that someone actually felt as an adult that all people are bad, because it's not possible. But you get consumed by the negativity that's around you, and that's kind of, it's almost like rumination. You get stuck, on all this negative thinking, negative behavior, because it's around you all the time. But so are the good things. It's just a matter of looking for them.
And you will find what you look for.
Correct. Yeah.
I went to your website when I first met you, Chuck. Met you online in a Zoom chat, and I found a part of your website where if I filled in my name and email details, I had access to your free resources. So of course I did that. And one of the things I downloaded that I'd love you to share with people, and how you maybe came up with the concept, you've got a monthly, daily plan of how to live each day. It's well, the one I have in my hand right now is called Adventurous April, and it obviously goes until the 30th of April, starting on the Friday the 1st. But every day there's a suggestion of something adventurous to do. So tell us a little bit about that.
That was actually inspired by, there's a group called Action for Happiness. You may or may not have heard of them. It's a global organization, and they do that. They have this calendar each month where they have a different theme. And I just took the concept and I just modified it so I had different themes. It's a very, very similar. It's similar in theory, but the way they go about it is a bit different than me, and vice versa. I just some of the ways that I approach the activities each day are a little bit different than what they do. But overall, the overall concept was inspired by Action for Happiness, and I find it to be quite interesting because everyone really enjoys these calendars, because, like you mentioned, every day there's something different they could do that's around this theme, say an adventure. I don't have it in front of me right now, and I wrote it about a month and a half ago, but the little things that you can do, like eat a new meal you've been thinking about doing, but you haven't, like that can be considered an adventure for someone, and other people not so much. But like, you can modify, you don't have to stick to an activity that's written down for that day. You can pick another activity on another day. The idea is to get people to do things that are outside of their comfort zone, even if it's just for a little bit, and to keep their mind moving and thinking about something different than went on that day, which ultimately and typically or often is something negative. Yeah. They go home and we're tired about work, and this person irritated me with this. My manager sent me this email that I can't believe they did that. I think it's important for people to, when they come home, they can look at the calendar and say, "Oh, I could try that," and it gives them a bit of a boost of positivity and joy because it feels good.
No, because we get into such habits, don't we? And we repeat our habits day after day after day. And to have something like this to refer to stimulates your brain. Of course, in doing that, you're going to fire new neurons, and lots of neuron firing will create clusters of neural pathways, and you create a new habit. And that's a great thing. Yeah. Keeps the brain alive.
Yeah. It's great. It's a fun activity. It's not very difficult to create, and anyone can access it. It's quite nice.
Perhaps you'd like to give your website details, although they will be appearing on the screen. But if you could give your website details so anyone listening can go right away onto your site and download their own monthly calendar.
Sure. It's www.selfaccountability, www.livingtothrive.com.au. And if they want to get access to the free resources and a number of other resources they can get access to, including the calendar, you just go into account at the very top and you create your account and you get access to all the material. We also have a series called Mind Bites, and these are just clips that I put out every 2 weeks talking about gratitude or how to build self-care habits, stuff like that. And we have a handful in there already, and I want to keep on adding to those as time goes by.
Fantastic. Fabulous. It's been an absolute pleasure, Chuck, having you on Brain Potential Insights today. And maybe we can talk again in the future. And I wish you well for the rest of the year and for the years to come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chuck.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.